this didn't happen on Christmas Eve? H-1B1 did not become a problem on Christmas Eve?
No, it's funny. We forget that Ronald Reagan was actually the architect of the last amnesty, the 1986 amnesty. And that was part of what they called the Grand Bargain. And the Grand Bargain was, we're going to grant amnesty and make a whole lot of people green card holders.
I remember that.
In exchange for businesses stop employing unlawfully present persons and stop engaging in fraud. And all of this enforcement stuff was part of the Democrat Party's offering to get amnesty, because the Democrats were pushing amnesty. So Republicans said, listen, we'll give you amnesty as long as we enforce the laws. Almost immediately, we stopped enforcing the law, right?
Yeah.
And the I-9 that was created to document who was allowed to work or not allowed to work became a meaningless document, one that you keep for yourself and doesn't go anywhere, no one ever looks at it, so on and so forth. If we fast forward to now, really nothing has changed, except that the volume of people in the United States has skyrocketed. We're, in my estimates, north of 30 million people in the United States. So you're looking around
north of 30 million.
Yeah, unlofully present persons in the United States. This number that is bannered about 11 million is complete farce. It's complete fraud.
Oh, of course. And I remember you telling me that. You said, listen, they just pulled that number, 11 million, 10 million, just out of thin air. It means nothing. We have more like 30 million illegals in our country. Yeah. But this particular conversation is not around illegals, because I think most of Americans, even those who were for the Democrats' proposal of opening up our border and just allowing anybody to walk in, to our country. We don't know who these people are, but somehow Democrats were able to convince people that you are racist if you don't want the borders wide open and allow millions of people to come in. So now this conversation is about legal migration into the country. But what was interesting was that almost within minutes, it became, once again, if you don't want legal migration from anywhere in the world, then again, you're racist. And I started thinking to myself, this is more than the labeling of people as racist. And I think it comes down to, personally, who are we as a country, and do we have a right to have an opinion about what kind of country we want? And if I say I want X, does that make me a racist? If I say I want Y, does that make me somehow virtuous? Can we just drill down all of these very meaningful and complicated issues to good, bad, racist, virtuous? Or is that just a tactic to shut people up?
Well, it's the latter, right? I mean, let's be honest about this. Anytime that you are saying to someone, you are racist and therefore I don't have to listen to you, we're doing the same thing that we have nieces and nephews and friends and things who do. The closer you get to what is fundamentally wrong, the more they come back and they lash out at you in a defensive way,
and
right?
That's what we're talking about here. And lash out, Elon did.
That's what we're talking about. This is. I don't want you to actually be able to carry forward an argument, so I'm going to throw out something that puts you on the defense. It has nothing to do with legitimate critique.
And that is, and so let me just read a couple of these tweets. And I know you guys a lot of people have been talking about it. And again, I want you to chime in here. Call me at 855-839-1210. I don't see the streaming up on YouTube, so I'm hoping we're streaming on YouTube. And you guys can post your questions there if you're listening to me right now. But otherwise, call in 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. But here is one of the tweets to Elon that made me really just kind of sit back and say, what in the world, what hornet's nest have we stepped in, many of us unconsciously? Because I don't think any of us really was going in out of 2024 into 2025 saying our number one issue is removing country caps, and so that the world can just come into our country if a corporation deems it's necessary. I don't think any of us thought that this was the issue we would be walking out of 2024 and into 2025 talking about. But when I read this tweet from Elon, I was like, wow, we must really be over the target here. Here's the tweet. He said, the reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. He goes on to say, so take a big step back and F yourself in the face. Of course, he wrote out the word F.
Right. Yep.
I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. I was like, my God. Now, of course, those people who are riding really hard for Elon right now came back and said, oh, that's the quote from a movie. I'm like, I've never seen no movie that said that.
So the bottom line is this. For 50 years during the Cold War, we had an official government policy, which we called the brain drain. And it was a whole variety of Department of State and immigration policies.
And this is back starting in the 90s?
It began in the 1950s.
Oh, 1950s,
right?
okay.
And the goal was to bring the best and brightest to the United States because we believe that there was smart talent all over the world and we were missing out, right? And we certainly knew that coming out of World War II. One of the reasons why we collected so many Nazi scientists was exactly that reason, right? You have a brilliant mind, let's put it to work. Right or wrong, that was an official U.S. policy. During the 2000s, late 90s, that started to break down, right? It started to break down because the Cold War, which was the impetus for this, it was the thing that was driving that policy, was no longer standing in front of us. And there was no clear enemy that we had to therefore compete with. And so we started to allow the system to unravel. Congress has utterly abdicated its responsibility in every single immigration area, right? But one of the biggest is with the H programs. You basically have three different H programs. Right? You have H-1Bs, which are supposed to be specialized workers. You have a variety of H-1B, H-1B1s and such, which are specialty programs dealing primarily with trade. And then you have the H-2s, which are about unskilled labor, right? So H-2s are unskilled labor, H-1s are skilled labor. So, H-2s, which we don't never talk about, are where all of your landscapers come from. And that has been a mess for the last 40 years. Congress knows it. There's, both sides of the aisle 100% know what to do to fix it, but it's immigration. So nobody in Congress is going to touch it, period. H-1Bs are also a train wreck, but it's a train wreck because we understand perfectly that we've got three fundamentally flawed things. People come to the U.S. for an education and they go back home, and so we've lost access to them. And that's what Elon Musk is talking about.
Right.
The second group is we have huge, brilliant people who can't get visas to come to the United States, and that is absolutely true.
You're right. And
then the last group is that we have a huge number of H-1Bs who are ostensibly skilled workers, but are doing really basement level IT work.
The jobs that Americans can have. We're getting ready to go on break. Jim is not tossing me to a break, but I'm looking at the time myself, and I know that it's time to take one. So on the other side, let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's drill down on those H-1Bs because, of course, it became a conversation of not only if you disagree with me, you must be a racist, but it also became, well, we just want the best and the brightest. So let's pick it up right there when we come back on the other side. Guys, y'all know the number. Please call in. I would love to hear your comments on this. 855-839-1210. See you on the other side.
Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10.
Luigi's not getting any Swedish fish in the joint. Luigi has for breakfast a choice of fruits, grits, bread, eggs, and coffee.
We have to remember, as these dummies on News Nation are like, hi, everybody, there's a person dead. It's, again, this idol worship. Do you guys see him? Is he watching? Like, they're giddy schoolgirls. Ugh.
Goes back to the big take this morning, the violence of the left, the irrelevance of the media.
Start your day with Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10, on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Do you you have a property that you no longer want? Maybe you inherited the property. Maybe you're underwater in the property. Or maybe you're just a tired landlord, tired of dealing with tenants. Listen, I can buy those properties, and I'll buy those properties fast. I can close in 2 weeks. I buy properties cash. My name is Larry Steinhaus. Give me a call at 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137, and I will personally answer the call. You can also visit easyOutRealEstate.com. Hey, this is Larry Steinhaus from Investor Schooling. Did you know I have a radio show every Saturday from 1 to 3? It's called The Larry Steinhaus Show, and it's sponsored by Investor Schooling. On this show, you will learn things about finances and things about money that you never knew before. But even more of a reason to listen to this show is how much fun we have. If you haven't heard the banter between me, Omri, and Dr. Deb, you haven't heard the greatest show on earth. Listen to this show this Saturday at 1 o'clock right here on WPHT, and I promise you will learn something.
Virtua Health, real patients, real doctors, real complex cases. Take one.
Open heart surgery, tear in my aorta.
The most complex cases come to us at Virtua Health.
I'm sure I wouldn't have been here without you.
Being a 45-year-old, not being able to walk up one flight of stairs, I had no idea I was in heart failure.
Virtua is a premier heart failure center in South Jersey.
They changed my life. It's truly a blessing.
Want to follow our stories? Go to virtua.org. Virtua Health, here for good.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Governor Shapiro has joined President Biden in calling for flags to be flown at half-staff in honor of Jimmy Carter. Today marks the peak day at Philadelphia International Airport, so plan accordingly. And the African American Museum in Philadelphia is holding events today marking the 5th day of Kwanzaa.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Hey guys, it's Jim Costa from Cash the Ticket. If you're planning on betting the NFL playoffs, buckle up. Betting football's hard enough as it is. We're doing the research for you. So listen to Cash the Ticket with Mike Valeni and I. We'll be dropping new episodes for every single playoff game. And that's going to be storylines leading into it, so some good football stuff, but also the betting nuggets you're looking for. Sides, totals, trends, player props, throw those in there too. Pre-game and post-game, we're going to be all over the postseason. Subscribe to Cash the Ticket on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Don Stensland Show. Don Stensland live and local on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and the free Odyssey app.
I used to float, now I just fall down. I used to know, but I'm not sure now what I was made for.
What are we made for? Is America for Americans? Or is it really for the rest of the world? Is it our responsibility to save everyone at the expense of Americans? I think that was the root portion of the debate around all of this. Is America first for Americans first? Or is it racist? And I think a lot of us, and I keep going back to racist because I was literally being called a racist. I'm like, I'm black. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't ask questions. This is what we want to do. And so that's so what are we made for? Why are we here? Let me just go straight to, oh, I thought I saw a caller. Did I have a caller on there? If you want to call in, call the number 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I'm Kathy Barnette, sitting in for my double good girlfriend. I have another double good girlfriend, but she doesn't want to come online right now. So I'm just going to say my other double good girlfriend, Don Stensland. I am sitting in for her on her show, the Don Stensland Show. David, let me just pivot to, let's just go straight into it. In 2020, H-1B visas hit their lowest under Donald Trump. When Donald Trump handed off the nation to Biden, we were at, application-wise, the number of people who were putting in an application for an H-1B visa was 562,000. Trump hands the reign of the nation over to Biden. Now we're at, in 2024, almost 1 million applications. Now, as most of you probably have learned, there's a cap on the H-1B visas right now. The ceiling is 85,000, right? 85,000-ish, okay?
Yes.
You have 65,000, then you have another 20,000 if you have a master's or some kind of degree.
Right.
So it's 85,000 is the cap. What started all of this was Donald Trump's new AI advisor saying we should just remove all of the caps on the country. Now, instead of 85,000, we could theoretically have, according to 2024 application number, 1 million people coming into the country. Talk to me about this. So under Biden, it went from 562,000 today, almost 1 million. When I looked at the USCIS website, we've already hit our max for 2025. So is there any fraud in this? Where are these numbers coming from? Why is it so ballooning?
Yeah. All right. So you've got 888,000-ish petitions filed this year for 65 to 85,000 visas, right? So the magnitude is huge.
So
right?
85,000 visas are the max
That's the
number.
cap, yeah, and the total
But
number
we have
applied
1 million, almost 1
Yeah.
million that are applied for.
And if you were to remove the cap entirely, that number would go up above 888,000, right? It would keep going because you're going to have all these companies which are not even bothering to file for an H-1B because they're looking and saying, well, you're only going to get 65,000. What are my chances of actually getting one? So if you remove the cap, that number will just keep blossoming, right? So that brings up the fraud point. I used to run the Office of Fraud Detection and National Security for 3 states, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and West Virginia. And it was created under the George Bush administration to handle exactly this problem, right? The idea was that you were going to go out and validate and verify all of the visas that were in front of us, whether they were marriage visas or employment visas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And under the Bush administration, we actually really built out a solid organization. The Obama administration castrated the organization right off the bat. So FDNS kind of went into an abeyance kind of field during those 8 years. Then under the Trump administration, it came back, but then it was stymied again by COVID.
What came back?
FDNS, the Office of Fraud Detection and National Security, started doing its work again. And then under the Biden administration, it was shelved again. So now we have an opportunity to yet again,
under
bring
incoming
forward,
Trump administration,
bring forward this FDNS. And the bottom line is this: if no one is looking, you will have fraud. That's true in every government program, regardless of the type. And that's what's happening here. So we regularly investigated cases where someone was supposed to be here on an H-1B IT visa and was working at a 7-Eleven stocking shelves for his uncle, right? And that was not an uncommon thing. And again, if you stop looking, you will get more fraud. And that's the reality of this thing. That's not to say the majority are frauds. If I had to throw out a number, I would say it's probably around 20% of those visas are fraudulent.
You think so?
It's probably that high. It's probably not as high as 30%. But we really don't know because unless you look, unless you're actively creating statistics, you don't know what the real numbers are, right? You can just guess.
Well, this conversation again, it came down to, I believe, what most Americans were asking on Twitter and in other spaces is, do we have a right as Americans to talk about what kind of America we want?
Sure.
Right? And I think without having to explain it, most of us believed that America First was for Americans first. And then it quickly began to devolve. No, America is not for Americans only. America is for, I don't know, the bottom line of corporations. America, and in one article, I won't say who wrote it, or in one tweet, that it was, if we want to win as Americans, we have to keep bringing people in. And the conversation kind of went around, we need to bring in these high-skilled people.
Sure.
Which then caused a lot of people to start looking at the H-1B website. It's public information, and people started going. And what we found was that, they were telling us, well, listen, this is for high skill, brain drain, the rest of the world. bring the people here. And then when you look at the jobs that were being offered or requested, it's for a janitor. I think we could find an American who would do that job. Then we have cooks, a lot of cooks. I think like that doesn't seem like a high skill job where we have to bring in foreigners to do that. But in fact, we may have some Americans who can do that. And then the one that really got me was 7-Eleven is looking for a cashier. I mean, again, this is all under H-1B visas, whatever the other coding may be. It's under H-1B visa, and they're telling us as Americans, you don't have the skills to do this job. Therefore, we must go outside of America to bring in these workers. And now we're looking at these positions, and we're like, wait a minute. These do not seem like the high skill, high functioning, extraordinary skill sets in order to flood our market. So with that, one, is there fraud? Yes, you said there is fraud. People manipulate it. But why do we need H-1B, one? The second question, why do corporations want H-1Bs?
Sure. So, when you open up this segment, you had said, is America supposed to save the world? Let's be honest, we already have, right? The world right now is healthier and more prosperous than it has ever been in all of human experience. And that is America, right? It is American capitalism that drove that engine. And at the end of the day, the profit motive is what makes America work. And if you want to understand the H-1B thing, you have to look at it from a business sense. It's a money thing, right? If I'm paying $75,000 a year, which is an entry-level salary for an IT worker, that is a job that could be filled by an American. By definition, that's why we're paying so low. When you get up to the 200 mark, now you start to talk about legitimate things, right? Where you're talking about program management, you're talking about all of the other higher level IT services for which we may legitimately not have the right number of people to do it, right? The same thing is true. You mentioned like chefs, cooks, right? I'm perfectly willing to accept that the top chef in a Japanese restaurant should be someone from Japan who knows what the heck they're doing. That's one of the reasons why I want to go to that great restaurant. So there is a place for an H-1B that fits that category. But if you're putting a chef in a Chinese restaurant or a Mexican bodega, that's not the same thing, right? And that's what we're kind of doing with the H-1B process. We're saying because it is possible that someone would be a highly skilled worker in this occupation, then everyone in that occupation is probably in that same category. And that's not at all true. When you're talking about immigration, like most policy things, this is really complicated stuff. Anyone who's giving you a simplistic solution is lying to you. And that's what Elon Musk is doing here. He's saying, look, either you open the gateways and you let everyone in, hopefully we get some really smart people in the process, or you fail. And that's not at all what anyone should be looking at. Instead, we should be looking and saying, we do want to drain the brain from around the world. How do we do that? Well, we don't do that at $73,000 a year. That's not how that works, right? You drain the brain at like $300,000, $400,000 because it is a profit motive that is driving all of this.
And to that point, when you look at all of the numbers, more than almost 50% of the jobs that are coming in is below $100,000. So this is not the brain drain.
Right.
So this is over 50% of the jobs they're bringing in or for people under 100,000. Mango Mush, you're right. Let me go on and say he's over here on Twitter saying, yo, cool your jets, Kathy. Running a busy kitchen is high skilled. Absolutely, right? Especially when you're going to some of these technical restaurants. But even to using your example of a Japanese restaurant, why can we not train an American to cook that Japanese dinner? Why is it that automatically we say, oh, we got to go get someone else to come in and do it? I mean, we have a number of examples of Disney bringing in people to be trained, and then they take those jobs. Okay, listen, I'm getting the hand wave from Jim. We're going to go to a break. You guys call in. I would love to hear your comments on all of this. 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210.
Hey, Dawn Stensland here. Get the vehicle that's on your wish list with year-end savings from the Piazza Auto Group. For a limited time, get an incredible 0% APR for up to 72 months available on the all-new Honda Prologue from Piazza Honda in Langhorne, Philadelphia, Pottstown, Reading, and Springfield, or the new 2024 ZDX from Piazza Acura of Ardmore, Reading, or Westchester, also with 0% financing. Contact your local Piazza Honda or Piazza Acura dealer, or you can shop online, Piazza Honda and PiazzaAcura.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
I'm Jalen Hurst here for Window Nation. If you're a fan of saving money, listen up.
Right now, save 50% on all window styles, plus a bonus 10% off and 0 interest for 6 years. Hurry, sale ends December 31st. Call Window Nation today to schedule your fast, free, in-home estimate or visit windownation.com.
Don't pay more than you have to for new windows. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
It's Joe Conklin with the City Rhythm Orchestra at Westchester University and Pittman, New Jersey in February.
It was fabulous. It was the most joyful night I have experienced in a long time.
The Frank Sinatra guy, I really liked him.
His imitation of the Bee Gees.
That's Conklin with City Rhythm and the story of Philly sports through music. Westchester University on February 21st and the Broadway Theater in Pittman, New Jersey on February 22nd. Tickets to a Conklin show make great holiday gifts. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com.
JoeConklin.com. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121.
Buy low, sell high. It's a cardinal rule of investing. With the market near record highs, you need a proven system that protects what you have earned without sacrificing opportunity for growth.
Jim O'Neill, Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. With the stock market at record highs, I would recommend taking your money and put it into a crash-proof retirement system. This year, I have earned over 14%, and it can't be taken away.
Gail Schlosser, and I started with crash-proof retirement in 2016. I'm getting great returns, up to 12 to 15%, and it's not going to dwindle away in the stock market.
Regina Kukulski, Langhorne. This year, I earned 10.5% interest. I feel really good looking at that because it's not money I lost.
Dolores Queen, Hatboro, Pennsylvania. We have outperformed the market this year, and when we earn 14%, it's ours to keep.
Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at the Copperfield Inn on January 22nd. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
Free speech in Philly on Odyssey's #1 talk station. Talk Radio 1210. WPHT.
They don't love you, PA, like I love you. Wait. Think about it, Pennsylvania. Y'all know I love you. And I'm so very grateful for each and every one of you, and so grateful for the Dawn Stensland Show for allowing me to come in and sit in for Dawn. Also, doubly grateful that I am your new weekend host on Saturdays, 10 to 11 a.m. I will be right here in the studio talking great conversation with some amazing people, newsmakers, as well as taking your phone calls. So I'm so excited. I start this Saturday, so go ahead and put it in your phone somewhere. I know you care. And I know you want to be there, so I'm very excited about that. Right now is my good friend, David Spalding. We kind of been just talking about all of this. There's so much to talk about around the topic of immigration, specifically these H-1Bs. It just blew up. It was was major. And we will see, right? Donald Trump has been very silent. I know there's something floating out there right now, but, who knows if that's real, if it's where he didn't really go into a conversation. He just says he appreciates H-1Bs. And contrary to what many others are saying, I appreciate H-1B. Most Americans appreciate H-1B. What Vivek said about certain cultures, their number one priority in certain cultures is to really focus on education, math, science, technology, engineering. And having spent a lot of time in the Indian community when I ran for Congress in 2020, when I ran for U.S. Senate in 2022, and working with Vivek, I spent a lot of time in the Indian community. He's right. These people are very focused on getting the best out of their young people. It's not even a conversation. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be an engineer. Sure. You're going to be in IT. You're going to be in math and sciences. And that is true. That is something we as Americans are going to as a whole are going to have to just sit around and think to ourselves, why is it that our young people, in those situations where our young people are legitimately not meeting up to the standards that is necessary, we have to ask the question, why? My husband and I asked this question 10 years ago. That is the reason why we started homeschooling our children. We found that there was a deficit in what the public school system was teaching. No, you're not going to teach my children that there are more than two genders, because there are only two genders. You're not going to have my children walking around here believing they are victims and everyone has to kowtow down to them, that they cannot be overachievers because somehow the color of our skin has made us weak. That was the reason why we started homeschooling our children. And I believe that is something very serious. So let me toss it to you. How do we create a culture that want more, that our children are going into technology and science and STEM and engineering and math?
Yeah, so to your point, Chester County, where I live, has a girls in engineering and technology program for middle school girls, right? And I volunteer at that. It's an annual event. And I would say 90% of the girls who attend that are Indian or Chinese of that
It's
background,
true.
even if they're born here in the
It's
U.S.
true. I've seen it.
We're not even talking about Anglos or African American or Hispanic families taking their kids to these things to try to encourage them to be involved in technology. And so at some level, the long range issue, right, of we are failing to provide enough high tech workers to service the industry is legit, right? And that's what Ramaswamy is pointing to, and he's absolutely correct about this, right? We don't have enough people on deck now to service this industry, regardless of how we modify things for the future. And from a business owner's perspective, because at the end of the day, that's what I am, right? I have two concerns. Promoting the future is great, but I need people now. And as long as you need people now that you can't get hold of, you're going to be driving that H-1B train. So let's assume that half of all the petitioning entities looking for foreign workers, H-1Bs, are legit, right? And I think that there's at least half.
But we don't even have to talk about farm workers. Let's just talk about accountants.
Foreign workers.
Foreign. Okay.
Yeah. So legitimate workers looking for legitimate jobs with legitimate employers, right? These folks have got to have access to the H-1B program in order for it to function.
And then what?
For them to live.
And then what?
So the best way for us to manage this program, is to up the standards, right? We're talking about
up the standards where? For foreigners, for our school system?
Well, you need both, but in the short term, you need USCIS, my old agency. You need that agency to up the standards, right? You need them to be turning around saying, no, you don't get a basic coding job for $70,000 a year. That's not legit for H-1Bs. This person has 5 years of experience managing data sets in a complex area. Yes, that's a legit H-1B.
We're going to hit a break in a couple of minutes, but so I want to get all of this in. Chris, you should call. I see you out here on on YouTube right now, but I love what you're saying out here on YouTube. Here's the number, guys, if you want to jump in here, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. But here's the thing, though. Just because, wait. If you can hold on that break for a second, just give me a minute. Yes, Vivek is right. You are right. I am right. Most of us know it. Our children are not meeting standards, right? When they're spending 8 hours on their iPhone and trying to become the next social media influencer and watching this crazy girl sleep with the world, we haven't, DEI and CRT and you're a victim and the highest and the highest crown you can get is by, I don't know, showing up on your pronouns, right? If that's, so that doesn't necessarily breed the best out of us. But I don't believe the answer is, okay, now pivot and let's just drain India or let's just drain China for all of their services. So I do not believe, let me just go on the record because I know how y'all do this. You take a snapshot and say, this is what she must mean. Let me be very clear. I do not believe in closing our borders and only allowing this nation to be a white nation. Hello, again, I'm black. I like diversity. I'm okay with it. I want the best and the brightest, but not at the long-term expense of my children. My son is in an engineering program right now. When he comes out, I want him to be able to go and apply for a job and not be overlooked because he's not from the right foreign country. Agreed. America first is for Americans first, not to the exclusion of immigrants, but certainly not before Americans. Why is that racist? Why can we not say that? Why is there something like, why are people being deaf about that?
Right. Agreed. 100%. And lifting the cap is not going to cure that problem. It's just going to exacerbate it.
And again, I agree. We need talent right now. But one of the comments to Elon was, well, Elon, if there's such a deficit, why don't you open up a university that give people a 2-year training on the skills you believe that the technology in Silicon Valley need? And Elon's response was, well, if I have to open up a university, we're already too late. I don't think the answer is America is deficient in a particular skill set, so the answer must be look outside of America. We have one caller, and then I'm gonna get to you, Gordon, right after this. But Mark, you have a question?
Yes. Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to simply ask your guest that you have on. The 14th Amendment is very clear, the wording of it, but Founding Father James Wilson, an expert on the Constitution, said, I believe, quote, the first and general maxim in the interpretation of a statute is to discover the meaning of those who made it. I believe the 14th Amendment was made for former slaves to achieve citizenship. Therefore, anyone who flies into the country or crosses the border illegally and has a child, that child is not an American citizen. I was wondering how he feels about that.
So the bottom line is that birthright citizenship, just sanguis and just solely citizenship, has been the U.S. standard for as far back as we have immigration laws, so back into the 1800s. Personally, I see both arguments, but I just don't see it changing. I think it's one of those things that the courts are going to fall solidly behind and say, we have always done it this way, and we always will do this way, unless there is a constitutional amendment that would restrict that. And I don't see any constitutional amendment passing in our political environment. So I think it's a really interesting and important question. I just don't think it will ever have a venue. I don't think it will ever come up.
Thank you so much. And Shelley,
thank you.
Shelley, I would love for you to call in. Let's talk about it. Kathy, the way you say that is not clear. I think I've been very clear. I believe America first is for Americans first. But let me be clear. Indian Americans are Americans. Chinese Americans are Americans. I'm not talking about Americans. America first is for Americans first in all colors and all background. Again, people, I'm black. So clearly I don't believe America first, it means for white people only. Okay? That is so is so myopic. It's such a backwards way of thinking about topics. We got to get out of that because it's actually, they weaponize the color of our skin to make us fight each other. So I am open. I'm open to us being able, so America first for Americans first, and an Indian American is an American, a Chinese American is an American, a Mexican American is an American, okay? I don't know how much more plain I can be on that. And secondly, if we are deficient in something, I am open. I am 100% against illegal immigration, but I am open to legal immigration. But I believe it cannot be remove the caps and allow anybody to come in, because I believe a corporation is going to do what is in the corporation's best interest, just like I am going to do what is in my own best interest. And in the best interest of a corporation is their bottom line. So if I can get someone who's willing to work 80 hours a week and I only have to pay them for 40 hours, guess what? I'm going to probably get that person who will work 80 hours a week and I only pay them 40 hours. That's from a corporation's perspective. But we as Americans have the right to participate in the conversation of what kind of country we're going to be. We're going to go ahead and close this out right now. Gordon Chang is on the line. Gordon, please hold on 1 minute. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you guys so much.
This is Jonathan Cans, third-generation owner of Marvin E. Cans Heating and Air Conditioning. Have you recently had an HVAC tech at your home that you think was full of you-know-what, trying to sell you a bunch of stuff that you don't need? Look, if your furnace or heat pump need to be fixed, we'll send one of our technicians out to do one thing: fix it. And if we do think you need a new furnace or heat pump, we'll send out one of our factory-trained teams to install state-of-the-art Trane heating system to keep you warm. Visit us at marvinecans.com. That's marvinekans.com.
Listen New Year's Eve as Penn State battles Boise State. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. on the home of Penn State football. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. The holidays are here. Christmas, New Year parties, hosting, going. Need fresh ideas for meal planning? Let Captain Chucky's help you with quick, delicious fresh meals and prepared seafood trays. Visit WeLoveCrabCakes.com for the Chucky's nearest you.
Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly, and it's 100% free to you if you are on Medicaid. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782 to get started today. You get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Free speech lives here on Odyssey's #1 talk station. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hey, welcome back. You are listening to Kathy Barnette. I am sitting in for my good friend, Dawn Stensland. Oh my goodness, can y'all believe we're at the end of 2024? I am so awesome. I'm going to say this today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter, but I'm so grateful to God and the people I went into 2024 with, I am going out of 2024 with and into 2025. That alone is enough to say thank you, Jesus. So no matter how bleak things are and how bleak things may feel, I am grateful. I am grateful. We have to have perspective. I am grateful. The ones I went into 2024 with, I am walking out of 2024 with. We are here. We are intact. I am grateful to God for all of that. So I hope you too are grateful. Okay, we just got an announcement. Donald Trump just endorsed Mike Johnson for Speaker of the House. Donald Trump said Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win, in all caps. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. MAGA. That is for Donald Trump. Mr. Gordon Chang, thank you, sir, for calling in. Hello.
Hello, Kathy, and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year, sir. Thank you so much for being on. You guys are no stranger to Mr. Gordon Chang. He's a lawyer, journalist, author of the new book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. That's a mouthful, Gordon.
Yes, but it's a warning to the American people because, we need to put China in context. There's so many Chinese developments, but we have to understand what China's grand plan is for the United States. And it's not to cooperate with us. It's not to get along with America. It's to destroy our country.
But I remember Biden saying China is just an equal competitor, just being a competitor, trying to earn a dollar like everyone else. That's not true?
No, that's not true. Xi Jinping has declared war on the U.S. In May 2019, People's Daily, which is the most authoritative publication in China, declared a quote-unquote people's war. We're Americans, Kathy, so we feel we can ignore what our enemies say.
Yes.
But people's war is a phrase that has great meaning to the Communist Party. And what it means is total war, as a Chinese military website told us last year. The thing about this is that China is, with this propaganda, is trying to establish a justification to strike America should it decide to do so. And we know one thing else about the Communist Party. It believes it is in an existential struggle with our country. And it believes it's in an existential struggle with us, not because of anything that we say or do, but because of who we are. An insecure regime in Beijing is worried about the inspirational impact of America's values and form of governance on the Chinese people. So the party believes it will never be safe or secure as long as the United States exists. We have to understand this. Biden was wrong. And if we don't understand this, then we, as a far stronger society in China, could lose our country because we're not protecting ourselves against its malicious attacks.
Well, over the weekend, I saw China just unveil their sixth generation fighter jet.
Stealth fighter.
Yeah, stealth fighter. What did that say to you?
Well, China is putting a lot of money into its military. It's the fastest military buildup since the Second World War. And Xi Jinping, he talks about going to war all the time. He's involved in this military buildup. He's trying to sanction-proof his regime. He is stockpiling grain and other commodities. He is mobilizing China's civilians for war, and he's firing military officers who are opposed to going to war. That's not to say that he's going to war, but it is saying that he is getting ready to do so. We don't know whether he's made the decision to go to war. But, Kathy, we know this. We know that he's made the decision to risk war with American treaty allies. That means he is prepared at this moment to kill Americans. And if we don't understand that, then we're going to take grievous losses because we're not going to be prepared.
I mean, when I look at China, I get this bifurcated kind of image of them. On one hand, I agree with everything that you're saying. They are certainly walking around the world like a bully. I'm sure you're aware that they have just agreed to build a very large dam on disputed properties right there at the border of India. So they're really flexing themselves. They will control the flow of water, just like they've done with some of the other Asian countries over there as well. That is really huge. No one is talking about it. We see them in Africa. We see them in the Panama Canal. We see them working with Russia. I don't think BRICS, or the acronym standing for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I think Spain. I don't think that would have
South Africa.
Thank you. South Africa. I don't think it would have any of the sting and would even be a threat if it wasn't for China. So on one hand, you see this entity, this nation that is truly trying to exude its dominance. But on the other hand, when I look at the country itself, their GDP is tanking. I'm looking at their final consumption numbers. People are not spending. You look at their gross capital formation. They're constantly in the news for all of the corruption that's going on within their corporations. And when you look at their GDP, even their net exports are on a decline. So when you look at their real GDP, it too is tanking. So what am I to make of this kind of bifurcated image that you get? On one hand, you see this raging dragon, but then on the other hand, you see this country that is imploding.
It's a great question. And the reason that we have to be concerned is because it is imploding. Xi Jinping, I think, is starting to see a closing window of opportunity. He's got these grand ambitions. He believes that he's the world's only legitimate ruler. He believes that the moon and Mars should be considered part of China.
Yeah.
There's never been a more ambitious aggressor in history, but he can also see that his country, or he should be able to see it, is falling away beneath him. And that means if he's going to move, he's going to move sooner rather than later. If he were confident, he would just let trends play out over the course of decades and let China take over. But I don't think that he believes that China can do that. I think that he must be seeing that if he doesn't move soon, he's going to lose the ability to achieve his ambitions.
Yeah, and that does not bode well. Jordan, if you can hold on, I'm going to go to a quick break, and then I'll come back and finish this discussion on the other side. Because you're very active on Twitter. So I want to get to the thinking behind some of the posts that you put out there. Guys, for the rest of you, call in, join into this discussion at 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I see y'all on the other side.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Happy holidays to all. It's the perfect time to talk about Rescue Natural Supplements and their Deck the Hall sale, because right now you can save up to 78% on exceptional natural supplements for every area of your health. From essentials like omega-3s, probiotics, cholesterol support, natural pain relief, and more. And the best part? Over a dozen health-boosting rescue products are marked down under $20. Get started. Stock up today. Call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Speak to a rescue product consultant or shop online at res-q.com. res-q.com. With Rescue, you can reinforce your immune system, boost energy, and reach your health goals. Again, there's no code needed to save up to 78% site-wide. So get a head start on your health. Visit res-q.com. That's res-q.com. Do it today.
The 2025 Philadelphia Polar Plunge is the coolest event in the Philadelphia region. Come chill at Citizens Bank Park on February 1st to make a splash and support Special Olympics Pennsylvania athletes at the same time. Every dollar raised helps support vital sports, health, and leadership programming for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. When you get to the event, check out Plunge Town, which features music, food, activities, and more. Visit phillyplunge.org to sign up today. phillyplunge.org.
Hey, Joe Camry here. You know, when you're making your New Year's resolutions, be sure to think about your car and your wallet, and then head on over to United Tire and Service. Taking care of your car and saving money is a resolution you can actually keep thanks to United Tire. From new tires to full inspections, oil changes, and more, United Tire and Service will keep your car in shape without breaking the bank. Stop by your locally owned United Tire and Service or go to UnitedTire.com. That's UnitedTire.com. Don't drive alone. Drive United.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. The Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
That's all you got? What? Come on with it. You can't stop me. What? You don't got no power. Nobody got power to shut you down. I'm my biggest problem. You are not my problem, okay? I got 99 problems and you ain't one of them. That's the energy I think we got to go into 2025 with. We got to be real focused because people are putting red herrings everywhere. I grew up in the Deep South. My grandfather had a hound dog, and that hound dog had a function. It was to go out there and to bring back a raccoon, a squirrel. We ate everything, okay? I grew up very impoverished. But I remember my grandfather, I remember the red herring story. That in order to get the dog off a trail, you get a red herring, a fish of some sort, and you put it in front of the dog who's sniffing so that they can get off the right trail and get on the wrong trail. That's the red herring. And there's a lot of red herrings, boy. Woo! The moment you get over the target, this is when people start throwing out all kinds of red herrings, trying to get you off the target, trying to get you to talk about things that will make you look stupid, that don't make any sense whatsoever. And so, anyway, Jordan, jump in here. Can you think of any red herrings that people throw out in front of you when you start talking about China and start talking about, I'm looking at one of your tweets right now about North Korea. I woke up to the news on North Korea that they are, they're positioning themselves to rise back up again. What are some of the red herrings you have ran into when you start talking about the threat of China?
Well, a lot of people, and this is Tom Friedman, the New York Times columnist, who when he makes these trips to China, and he talks to Chinese officials who just sort of, they compliment him, tell him how great he is, and then he comes back and says, we can work with these guys. The problem is, yes, a lot of Chinese technocrats know what their country should do. But the problem is it's run by a guy named Xi Jinping, who is a deeply committed Maoist and who is taking China in all the wrong directions. So that is a red herring because it diverts us to what we should really be thinking about, and that is what Xi Jinping plans for the United States. It's hard for us to do that, but we got to remember one thing, Kathy. You got a Communist Party that is behind the fentanyl gangs. and that kills 70 to 75,000 Americans each year. And those guys, they're not criminals like we think criminals. These are people who have the full backing of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
And that means we should think of fentanyl deaths in our country as murders, not just overdoses.
Right. Yeah, like that was something Vivek would talk about all the time, is that these fentanyl overdoses are not overdoses. These people are being poisoned, and they're being poisoned as a direct result. Our southern border has been weaponized, but the ones who are bringing these drugs in, this fentanyl in to poison Americans, is the Communist Party of China. They are backing and funding these people who are doing what they're doing. And 75,000, like at one point it was 100,000 deaths a year. And now you're saying, fentanyl deaths are one of the largest causes of death in our country.
Yes, well, 100,000 figure is overdose deaths.
Overdose deaths, yes.
Mm-hmm. So if you have to sort of shrink that a little bit, because there are other things like cocaine and whatever.
But 75,000, let's say, ish, of the 100,000 is as a result of fentanyl, and fentanyl is a weapon that is being used by the Communist Party of China.
Yes, the fentanyl gangs in China, they are large, they're well organized. They could not operate in China's near total surveillance state without the knowledge and therefore the approval of the party. But we know that some of these fentanyl producers are actually state-owned. There are central government subsidies for fentanyl production. Chinese diplomats give cover to the gangs. Every container that leaves China is inspected by Chinese officials. The Chinese fentanyl gangs, they launder their proceeds through the Chinese state banking system. And China's TikTok, which the government uses to propagate its narratives, promotes illegal drug use in the United States.
But now, did you see where Donald Trump is now pro TikTok?
Yes, and that's wrong. Because we know TikTok does two things. First of all, it steals American data, and it's violated every pledge it's made to the American people about data. But the more important is China uses TikTok to propagate Communist Party narratives. And Trump should remember that in 2020, he lost the election in large part because the Chinese regime was supporting a guy named Joe Biden. So, yeah, we don't know what Trump ultimately plans for TikTok. But that's not the way to negotiate to China, to make preemptive concessions, which is what Trump just did by going to the Supreme Court and asking them to give additional lease of life to TikTok.
Why do you think that is? But why do you think? What you cannot jump into the mind of Donald Trump and understand why he does what he does. But as someone on the outside who spent a lot of time thinking about these kinds of things, what would be the motivations of Donald Trump? Because I remember in 2020, even with TikTok using its influence in American culture to actually put up instructions on how to start a riot. I remember that, right? Everybody was talking about that, and I remember for so long that the Republican Party specifically was like, let's put a spotlight on TikTok and who's really controlling TikTok and how they're manipulating elections and American people and all of this stuff. Now we get a ban in place and Donald Trump comes out and say, oh, no. Let's rethink that. What would be the motivations of Donald Trump doing such a thing?
Well, as you say, I'm not in his mind. He does know that TikTok helped him get reelected, but on balance, probably it helped Biden more because the Communist Party did not want to see Trump get elected. It could be a very simple thing. It could be Elon Musk, who has some pro-China views. It could very well be a lobbyist who's gotten to Trump. I don't know, Kathy, but I do know that the decision was wrong because from any number of different perspectives, TikTok is a weapon the Communist Party uses, and it's pointed at the heart of the United States. Now, if you wanted to use it as a negotiating tool, you let TikTok die because that puts a time frame for the Communist Party. That gives them a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. So asking for an additional lease of life for TikTok is exactly the wrong way to go. Do not make preemptive concessions to China. China does not return the favor. They just press the advantage. And they think that a person who makes preemptive concessions is weak. And that's probably what they're thinking about Trump right now. And that's not good for the United States.
Now, you've been on Twitter talking a whole lot about Elon Musk and his relationship with Xi Jinping and his influence over what's going on in Taiwan right now. I don't know if you're afraid of being, kicked off your platform or not. That seems to be something Elon is doing if you criticize him. But one of your tweets, if you can explain it, everything the world's richest man says about Taiwan is wrong. So here's a little history lesson for Elon Musk. And then you put out a link to your article that you wrote about this. What is Elon saying? How is it wrong?
Yeah, he is on a number of occasions this year. He has said, look, Taiwan is part of China, like Hawaii is part of the United States. He says you don't have to read between the lines. You have to read the lines of what China is saying. And so he is saying Taiwan is an integral part of China. If you look at history, though, the People's Republic of China has never ruled Taiwan. Even greater than that, no Chinese regime has ever held indisputable sovereignty to the island of Taiwan. And I go through the history going back to the Ming Dynasty, which is the 1600s, to show that no Chinese regime has ruled Taiwan, and that the Communist Party's narrative on Taiwan on history is absolutely wrong. And, we can have disagreements about whether the U.S. should defend Taiwan or not, but we should get our history right. And so this piece that I wrote in the Gatestone Institute is to show the history of China, Taiwan, and the world.
I will absolutely be going out there and reading that. You know what was really interesting over the weekend? I saw an article about Elon Musk is getting behind the right, what they call, quote unquote, right wing party in Germany. And the Germans are going into a fit over that. It's a big brouhaha. And then I'm looking at what you're talking about, with Taiwan and China, and it just hit me. I mean, it's hit me for some time now, but I'm kind of connecting all these dots. The most powerful country in Europe is Germany. The most powerful country in Asia is China. The most powerful country in the world is America. And in the ear of all of these world leaders who run China, who runs Germany, who runs America is Elon Musk. He's the common thread. That's a lot of power and influence. What does history say about that? Should we be concerned, or is this just a nothing burger?
Well, I think we have to be concerned. Now, Elon Musk has done some really great things, and I start and put SpaceX at the top of that. If the United States is going to get to the moon before China, it's not going to be because of NASA. It's going to be because of Elon Musk.
Yes.
And that's a really important thing. And Musk has opened up Twitter, which is good, because before it was a little bit of a totalitarian space run by the woke crowd. So Elon Musk did that, and that's very important too. And I think President Trump was the right choice in our election, and Elon Musk put a lot of money, put a lot of narrative behind Trump, and that was fantastic. I think the other thing that Musk is doing, which is great, is, of course, Doge, to try to shrink the federal budget and especially the federal deficit. But the problem is, in a democracy, you want power to be distributed because you don't want someone to become too powerful. And for the reasons that you just pointed out, the concentration of power in the hands of Elon Musk is a little bit of a worry.
And you're right. I mean, I'm grateful for Elon Musk and the role that he played in getting Donald Trump elected. I believe his role was not a small role. I think he played a very significant role in helping Donald Trump win, which is a good thing. I'm all for that. I can't imagine a world Kamala is in charge of. And yes, I'm so very grateful for Doge and their mission statement, and certainly with my good friend Vivek Ramaswamy. I adore him. I think he's a great guy. And I can appreciate SpaceX. I can appreciate a lot of things, but when I start connecting the dots, I think about what we used to say all the time, where absolute power corrupts absolutely. And should we be concerned at all?
Yes, definitely. Because that's the way, democracies are supposed to work. We're supposed to have everyone talk. We're supposed to have, the free and open discussion of the First Amendment. And we don't give anyone, a political figure, complete power. The founding fathers had developed a system of checks and balances, which was genius, especially when you consider that they were the first to do it in the world. And so really what we're talking about is a system which depends upon diversity. And so the spreading out of power and the concentration of power has always been a problem.
And diversity of thought, right? It's a system that requires diversity of thought among all things.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean diversity in the DEI sense. I know. Meant so thank you for that.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that, with this whole H-1B kerfuffle, the first thing he did after he wasn't getting his way was he shut down diversity of opinions and started demonetizing and shutting people's accounts. And he has his reasons for that, and I'm not going to litigate whether good or bad. I clearly have an opinion about it. But again, it's just when you take into consideration who this man is and the amount of power that is concentrated in his hand, and you see what what he was capable of doing and shifting the whole conversation and just dragging people, and wasn't very thoughtful about his responses. I don't know. It gave me pause.
It certainly does. And people are concerned. But the one thing, Kathy, is that, with Musk going overboard on H-1B visas, in terms of his rhetoric, the substantive issues, we'll put those to aside for a moment, but you're right to focus on his going overboard on the way he's handled it. The problem for him is that people are now starting to talk about it, and that reduces his influence. So our system is working because Kathy is on the radio talking about this. Other people are going to think about it, and we're going to have further conversations because you have decided that this is something that is important to discuss. So our system will work.
I think so. One last thing before I let you go. You put a tweet out here, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. This is going to be one hell of a fight with hell. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about I'm talking about the forces of evil, and let's mention that word because it's important. There are evil forces that are attacking our country, both internally and externally. And they do not want us to get up off the mat. So we're going to have to fight. People of faith, people who are good, people who believe in democracy and freedom. We're going to have to protect our society. And it's going to be a hard, long struggle because in our country right now, there are many forces that are working against the American Republic. And it's not just in the United States, it's around the world. So, Kathy, you're out there screaming and yelling, and I love that because we're doing that. We're going to win this hell of a fight.
Praise the Lord. I am hopeful.
I
know, right? Someone asked me from Australia, why are you people in America so obsessed with your guns? I'm like, so we don't end up like Australia. So we don't,
or China,
or China, or any other totalitarian regime or Germany, where London, where people do not have the ability to protect themselves. I tell people all the time, I practice my Second Amendment on a daily basis, and which reminds me, I was just talking to my friend. I was looking at the news where New York City New Year extravaganza that they have every year. They are increasing security, and my first thought was, who in their right mind would go to New York for the New York New Year's Eve event? Who in their right mind would do that? Are y'all not watching the news? But anyway, they're going to have a lot of security there.
They will, but I won't be there.
I will not be there either. Gordon, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We're going to take this quick break and come back. Hopefully, Laura Loomer will be on the line. She's been texting me. Steve Bannon is going over the time limit. We will see when we come back. Blessings. I'll talk to y'all in a moment. Hey, here's the number. And what's her name? Tanya Bell on YouTube. Call me. 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210. Blessings. See y'all on the other side.
Your Penn State Nittany Lions are heading to the Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Eve.
Touchdown, Penn State! The Nittany Lions respond!
Penn State's postseason continues, advancing to the CFP quarterfinal to face Boise State.
He's close, he's there, touchdown, Penn State!
Catch all the action New Year's Eve starting at 7 p.m.
I'll drive into the end zone for a touchdown.
Here on your home for Penn State football. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and on the free Odyssey app.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com. Auto repair bills are through the roof. $3,000 to replace the transmission. $4,000 for a blown engine. And if your manufacturer's warranty is expired, you'll have to cover it all out of pocket. You need an Endurance Auto Protection Plan. No matter what the mileage, if your car is under 20 years old, Endurance can get you covered on the engine, electrical system, transmission, AC, drivetrain, and more. Endurance has plans for any budget. Repairs can be done at the certified mechanic of your choice, and they're paid directly with no middleman. Plans cover 24/7 roadside assistance, towing, battery jumps, fuel deliveries, tire changes, lockout services, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Act now and get our elite benefits, including complete tire care and key fob replacement. A $2,000 value at no extra cost. With Endurance, you could never pay for covered auto repairs again, so call now for your free quote. Call 800-380-9012. 800-380-9012. Again, that's 800-380-9012.
Harry, if you watch any more of those stupid financial shows, I'm filing for divorce.
How am I going to keep up with our retirement accounts?
At JML Financial Group, we want you watching your grandkids playing soccer and sunsets in Hawaii, not the latest rumor of a market crash. Surprisingly, with proper income planning, the stock market shouldn't even be a concern. The money came in every 2 weeks while you worked. It should be the same in your retirement years. Let us show you how. Call JML Financial Group today at 856-925-6674. That's 856-925-6674. Or at jmlfinancialgroup.com. So, when your neighbor's sunbathing in the front yard,
Harry, you're an idiot. Get away from the window.
keep your eyes focused where they should be, on enjoying your retirement. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Do you know when the best time to buy investment properties is? It's now. It's always now. You just need to learn how to buy them correctly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night and learn how to buy investment properties and make money every time. That's right. That's what we teach. We teach how to buy investment properties and make money every time. Go to investorschooling.com and RSVP right now. Take a class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. That's investorschooling.com. This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Don't go through life ignorant about how to become a millionaire. Learn how to invest in real estate, the stock market, precious metals, and learn from an expert. At Investor Schooling, we teach these things and more. We only provide education, and we will teach you how to leverage real estate, how to leverage the stock market, and how to leverage precious metals to make more money than you've ever made before. Go to investorschooling.com and take a complimentary class this Thursday. We will see you there, investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
Calling on Blackwood to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
I used to know, but I'm not sure now what I was made for. What was I made for?
I just love this song. I could just listen to it over and over again. Let me tell y'all, I know some of you have some really strong opinions about the Barbie movie. I love that movie only because I look beyond all the other, flashpoints, the red herring. And ultimately, with this song in mind, the question was, what was I made for? Barbie's coming to this realization, right? I wake up one day, I'm living my best life. I wake up one day, I got flat foot, bad breath, cellulite, and I'm like, I'm not living what I thought was the reason why I was here. I'm not living that life. And I think it was such a poignant point in the movie. I watched it again with my daughter. That's why I'm talking about it right now. But this song, what was I made for? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Maybe after so many years, you're getting ready to walk into a new year and you still don't know what you were made for. And that is I think that is probably a very real issue for a lot of people. There are a lot of very unhappy people. I started taking neurology classes from Harvard last year, working with these presidential campaigns. I mean, the people you come across. I felt like I needed to understand how the mind works. And, so I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of kind of double clicking on a number of topics. And, and I found it interesting once when someone said, when this psychiatrist was talking, and he said, when someone presents depression to me, the first thing I try to do is to find out, is it chemical or is it because of life choices? And sometimes I don't know, I just started double clicking, right? Because their depression is very real, but sometimes it's not always chemical or neurological. Sometimes it's the ruminating on past decisions or missed opportunities, things such as that. So as we walk into 2025, I think it's a wonderful exercise for you to begin to ask yourself, or to answer the question, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with the time I have remaining? And I don't know if you're very mature in life or not so mature in life, wherever you fall on the spectrum. I think that is a very valid question that we should be answering. And if you don't have the answer, it's okay. Look for the answer. Start thinking, start doing, figuring those things out. That's what I'm going to be spending my time on throughout 2025. That's my goal, is to be able to answer that question with complete clarity and to help my children be able to answer that question as well, so that they're not just floating around like random atoms, but that they know who they are, why they're here, so they can get busy about living the life we have in front of us. You only get one. I know. Some other religions may say you get to do this life again. I don't believe that. I believe this is your one take. And you are here for a reason. What are you made for? Yada, yada. I know. I'm just going on and on because, this is on the forefront of my mind. It's something that I think about all the time. Why am I here? And am I living? Am I utilizing all that I've been given, all that I know, to live the best life I possibly can? And I meet a lot of people who are just existing. And I just want to come alongside you, give you a big bear hug and say, as we walk into 2025, you were made for a purpose. I hope you will spend all of the rest of 2024, which is just one more day, but all of 2025, making sure that you can answer that question. Who are you listening to? Kathy Barnette. I am sitting in for my girlfriend, the Dawn Stensland, on the Dawn Stensland Show. Here's the call-in number. 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I just told you guys a couple of different news alerts that have come across. Donald Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, has endorsed Mike Johnson to continue on as Speaker of the House. As you know, that a vote is coming up on the 3rd, September 3rd, on January 3rd, which is this Friday. Tomorrow, I am going to have in the house, probably on phone, not in studio, but on the phone, I'm going to have Senator-elect Dave McCormick, as well as Congressman Scott Perry. And we're going to be talking about this particular vote that Congressman Scott Perry is going to take, as well as what's on the agenda or on the mind of our new Pennsylvania Senator-elect, Dave McCormick. I'm very excited for those conversations. That will be tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. So in addition to Donald Trump coming out saying that that Mike Johnson has his full and undivided endorsement for this vote that is going to come up on Friday, Costco is defending DEI programs as other major retailers are dropping DEI as fast as they picked it up. Costco is having a vote. Their shareholders are having a vote right now today, and they are asking their shareholders to vote against a proposal to drop DEI. What is DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I stopped calling it DEI and I started calling it DIE, die, because it is where every good idea goes to die. The moment a corporation, a school, a universe, whatever, picks up DEI, diversity of thought exits the building. And now it all becomes about these little widgets and holes, and are you plugging in the right widget in the right hole versus diversity of thought, diversity of thought, diversity of thought. That is what we want. And yes, I do believe diversity of thought should come in external packages that extend beyond blonde, blue hair women or men. I believe it should have the outside casing of diversity of thought. I think we can expect for it to have some different hues to it, right? Because diversity of thought, a thought is in your mind, a mind is in your brain is in your body. The body has different shades. So you can't just say, oh, no, we don't want to think about that. No, this is what people think about, whether people say it out loud or not. This is what people who are not white majority in the Republican Party think about. We think, yes, diversity of thought. I've already said it 1,000, a million, a trillion times. It's all about diversity of thought first. However, the second thought comes, diversity of thought should look more, diversity of thought should not be so monotonous in its appearance. It should have some variety. And I think that too is a good thing. But I think diversity, inclusion, and equity, has proven to be horrible. Just like affirmative action. I believe, maybe the thought of affirmative action when they were thinking about it, right, with the Civil Rights Bill in 1964, I'm sure, let's assume there were good intentions. The problem with good intentions is that you put it into the hands of flawed people. And now it becomes about numbers and widgets and nuts and bolts. And you lose the intent to bring all groups of people from different backgrounds into a room, into a corporation, into a college, because you think if I get different backgrounds and different socioeconomics and people who look different, then we're going to get some differences in thinking. That's the general thought. That's not the case, however. What we have found these past 4 years with DEI is that it has, and I used to say this all the time, CRT, DEI, it is going to make America racist again. I believe prior to, 2016, for example, or prior to Obama getting in office, I believe he really stoked the flames of racism in reviving racism in this country. I grew up on a pig farm. I grew up very impoverished. I grew up underneath a rock. I had nothing except for the lived experience that in America, if I could keep my nose clean, if I could work really, really hard and plan out my life, go get a higher education, that I may be able to create a different life for myself. And that's exactly what I did. I waited to have children. I waited to get married before I had children. I went on and got an education, have several degrees, went into the military, an adjunct professor, worked in corporate America, A.G. Edwards, Bank of America, Capital Asset Management, author of my first book, ran a very competitive. That's what I did. I didn't have an uncle that I could call and say, hey, could you open up? I didn't have anyone to invest money in me. But what I had was the belief that the color of my skin does not limit me in my own eyes. Now, to other people, I can't control what other people may think about me. But in my own eyes, I did not have to show up as a victim. That in this country, there were some basic rules and parameters. And if I could figure out what that combination was and put it and engage it in a meaningful way in my life, that I could create a life for myself. And that is what I did. And I believe for the most part, yes, did I meet some jerks along the way? Did I meet people who, preferred if I had not been in the room? I remember being at Bank of America, Capital Asset Management on the buy side of very large mutual fund, Bank of America, Capital Asset Management on the buy side. And I was the first Black person to ever work in that department as a financial analyst. And my thought was, I'm not old enough to be the first person doing anything. Why am I the first person? So I remember walking into these different environments, and my thinking was, the door has been opened. Someone has opened the door. I'm going to walk through that door, and I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can possibly be, right? And some people will like me. Some people will not like me. I'm going to have to be okay with that, and I am. But I never thought of myself as I'm a victim. I need someone to make some special rules other than the ones that have already been laid that allows a black person not to have to get up and go to the back of the bus, not to have to, be bred as a business strategy. Our country has come so far. We've done so much. We're the least racist country in the world. You go across the world. We're the least, and I've traveled the world in the military and on my own dime. And I would come back to America. I remember going to South Korea and then coming back home as a young girl, and I kissed the ground when I got when I was like, "Thank you, Jesus. I'm back in America." The world is just very different. And if you haven't been outside of the United States, you may think that what we experience is how the world really is. And that's just not the case. You come back home to America and you realize, like, oh my God, we are not perfect as a country, but no one is running a close second to America. Hey guys, Laura Loomer is on the line. Hey Laura, how you doing?
Hey, doing well. How are you, Kathy?
I am doing well. I don't know how much of my rant you heard, but I was just talking to the audience about Costco is encouraging their shareholders to vote against getting rid of DEI. And I'm just talking, DEI sucks and it hasn't really done a whole lot of good. But I wanted you to come on because, in all fairness, Laura, on Christmas Eve, all hell broke out. And in large part, whether someone thinks it was a good discussion or not a good discussion and everything that has come out of it, the reality is no one would be talking about H-1Bs and the immigration and removing caps if it wasn't for you. You were the one who threw a rock in the crowd and got everyone to look up and say, "What's going on? What is the motivation of different people?" Maybe we should consider the motivations of different groups of people. It was you who started that, for better or for worse. You have also bared the largest brunt of all of this. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to come and talk to us about why you thought it was so important to talk about what was going on with H-1Bs and other visas. And how are you doing?
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and thanks so much. Yeah, it was a pretty crazy holiday. I wasn't expecting to spend Christmas and Hanukkah arguing with the richest man in the world and all the technocrats that are trying to infiltrate the White House. But look, we needed to have this conversation, and the reality is that Elon Musk needs to have his influence checked, and we can't allow for tech billionaires and people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and others who have this sense of superiority over the rest of us peasants in society and the rest of us, everyday folk who really just aren't the so-called best and brightest, because I don't know if you learned, Kathy, but 80% of the best and brightest people in the world live in India. The rest of us are just, we're just a bunch of low IQ peasants, I suppose. We elected Donald Trump to be our president, and I find it to be rather uncomfortable that we have these very wealthy individuals who have control over our flow of information through social media companies, people who have now been appointed by President Trump, and they are promoting policies and trying to reform our immigration policy in direct opposition to original MAGA America First policies. And I don't care, which reporters want to pretend and say, President Trump now all of a sudden supports H-1B. Promises made are promises kept. And in 2016, when we began this MAGA movement, the amazing MAGA movement that got President Trump elected 3 times now, okay? We had a stolen election, but it's now gotten him elected 3 times. We, the people, supported President Trump because he said that we were going to have mass deportations, we were going to build a wall, and he was going to shut down the H-1B visa program, which was heavily abused. And now you have people that are coming in and writing these very large checks, okay? And they are trying to buy off political influence so that they can try to have a bigger seat at the table and completely erode American democracy, our constitutional republic, our political system, and the way our voices are supposed to be heard, because they think that they are the kings of society now. The tech elite who want to rule over us, turn all of us into indentured servitudes who have to work 80 hours a week with no work-life balance so that the tech billionaires can have complete control and get their cheap labor, and it's going to be at the expense of the American people, and we're going to basically turn into another India. And you've seen these tech elites this weekend talking about how they want to increase our migration to 5 million more migrants per year for 20 years, 100 million migrants over the next 20 years until we have a population of 1 billion people. I'm not making this up. These are statements that have been made by people who are now incoming Trump administration officials, and it should be very concerning to people. We voted for President Trump, and if I had to be the one to say it because everybody wants to kiss Elon's ass and everybody's too afraid to challenge the richest man in the world, then so be it. I'm going to be the one to say I don't like the fact that a billionaire is trying to overshadow President Trump and control our policy. I didn't vote for this.
Now, do you believe that there is a deficiency in the education of our children? What our children are being, what the typical
absolutely. There's a deficiency.
So what do you believe the answer is?
There's not a deficiency in the American mind like Vivek was trying to say. You know, I mean, look, I understand, and I don't have anything against Indian people. I don't have anything against Vivek Ramaswamy. In fact, you know, until Vivek made these comments, I had said, you know, Vivek could potentially be a future U.S. president after President Trump. But you know, Indian culture is supremacist in nature. And so perhaps this is why Vivek Ramaswamy, as an Indian American, has these views. Indian culture is very supremacist. They have a caste system. That's how society operates in India. So, you know, maybe he thinks that it's okay to talk down to Americans the way he's talking down to us, and make it sound like our society needs to be ruled by, you know, the most high IQ individuals or this cultural technocratic elite. But that's not how American society works, you know. And so if people want to come to our country and they say that they want to live here for opportunity, they need to be willing to assimilate. And assimilation doesn't just mean learning the culture and coming here legally, but it also means adapting to our culture instead of trying to push your own supremacist culture onto our culture.
Well, two things. I will get to Vivek in a moment, but let me just go to another point that you just made. You said that that's not how our country works, that we don't allow high IQ technocrats to run the nation, and that's so how should it work? Don't we want the smartest people to lead our country?
We want the smartest people to lead our country, but we don't want the smartest people in our country to also be the richest people in the world, to get government contracts and subsidies so that they can be billionaire welfare queens and then have access to the Defense Department and a security clearance and access to all the social media networks so that if there's any type of, you know, dissent, they can just shut us down or, hypothetically speaking, in the future, even utilize their defense contracts against the people that are standing in their way. I mean, maybe it sounds far-fetched, but it's actually not far-fetched. And the founding fathers, you know, advocated for a separation of powers. And I fear that the technocrats are trying to really undermine, infiltrate, and completely reform and eliminate our structure of government and our way of doing politics here in America, so that they really can rule like monarchs, so that they really can have this feudalist type society where we are indentured servants and peasants, and we just have to respond to the orders and the commands and the wishes of a feudalist monarchist state.
Now, of course, Elon did not say that, neither did Vivek. So why do you believe that?
Because this is the ideology that they subscribe to. So I just got off of War Room and Steve Bannon's show, and I was talking about how a lot of these guys in tech, and it's well known, they subscribe to the philosophy called Dark Enlightenment. And Dark Enlightenment is an anti-democratic movement that wants to install a technocratic monarchy in America. So this is well known. One of the main minds behind this, or two of the main guys, is a guy named Curtis Yarvin, another guy by the name of Nick Land. Curtis Yarvin receives a lot of his funding from Peter Thiel, and of course we know that Peter Thiel is the guy who financed J.D. Vance's Senate campaign and had a lot of influence during the first administration. And so these guys have these very warped ideas, and they have unlimited amounts of money, and now they're getting appointed to positions in the Trump administration, and I find it to be concerning because already President Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet, right. And we're already seeing complete disrespect of the MAGA base. They called us retards.
I'm going to have to take a break in a moment, but I want to get into this with you just a little bit. How do we breed a culture in America that puts an emphasis on education, on STEM, on those things? Because I don't believe that they're wrong in the fact that there is a deficit. I don't believe the answer is to go across the world to bring in other people. But in the short term, what are your thoughts on correcting this? Because there is a deficit, there is a need. How do we change that? Long term, obviously, get rid of DEI, CRT, all of this foolishness, put an emphasis on STEM. But in the short term, what do you think these corporations should do?
Well, they should be investing their money into training, and maybe we need to establish more schools, right? Maybe we need to establish more technical schools in America, or increase our curriculum starting from K through 12. So it's not a big surprise that America has a deficiency when it comes to math and science and STEM in our educational system. But the solution is to not replace Americans and deprive Americans of opportunities because of a stain on our educational system, something that the tech elites also really need to take responsibility for, because these are the people that funded for decades DEI initiatives and the degradation of family values in our society, and the breakup of religious schools that had more of a focus on skill sets and had more of a focus on academic excellence as opposed to the public school system.
Laura, if you can hold on 1 second, I'm coming up against a hard break. If you can hold on, I would love to bring you back. If you can, I completely understand. But if you can hold on 1 second, we're going to go to a quick break. Thank you. Okay, guys.
You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
Exactly. That's why I use NordVPN every time I surf the web. Features like Threat Protection Pro's safeguard devices from phishing websites and disable intrusive ads and trackers. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 10% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Dawn Stensland here. My friends at Piazza Premium Automobiles feature the latest luxury vehicles from today's top brands: Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar, Land Rover, BMW, Porsche, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, and more. Sleek new designs and innovative features with thousands of new and certified pre-owned vehicles available across Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. Piazza Premium Automobiles stands out. Visit PiazzaPremiumAutos.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Listen New Year's Eve as Penn State battles Boise State. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. on the home of Penn State football. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
At PGW, safety is essential to delivering clean, reliable natural gas to Philadelphia homes and businesses. If you smell gas, call PGW at 215-235-1212.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me.
That's all you got? What? Come on with it. Laura, that was you this weekend. You were like, that's all you got? And Laura, you were out there, like I said, like you, don't like you, agree with you, don't agree with you, whatever. The fact is, when they went after you, it reminded me of how they went after me in 2022 when I ran against Dr. Oz. Like, they were ruthless and merciless, and they were they came after me so hard. And I was almost having whiplash as I watched them come after you so hard with everything blazing, which got me to thinking you must be over the target, because Elon, for better or for worse, lost it and just went on just had a break. I have 1 minute. I'm going to give it to you, Laura.
Well, I appreciate it. And I've been fighting this for a long time. So I've seen the type of devastation and the type of consequences that happen to the life of the ordinary American. It's something that I've lived as my own experience. When the technocrats have this, kind of unrelenting, unchecked power. And so we need to be very critical and skeptical of people. And we can be grateful. Okay, I'll say we could be grateful that Elon Musk wrote a check for $200 million. And, he did help get Twitter back so that people could have their voices in an election year. But what was the ultimate intention? Okay, what was the ultimate intention? And so we need to protect President Trump. Everybody has their own agenda and their own interests.
I agree.
I don't think that it's unreasonable to be asking, is it okay for a guy that wants mass migration, even though he says he doesn't, and a guy that has all these
Okay, we got to go, Laura. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much. And guys, I'll be back tomorrow with a whole host of people. Blessings. Bye.
Have you ever tried something for the first time